Good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. Hey, West31, how are you doing? So for those of you that have missed me, my name's Digital Dragon. I'm a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. That means we do everything from machine unboxings like our X1 Carbons here, to full up printer builds like our Vorons over here. And we take part in a lot of prototyping, such as the box turtles up here and a bunch of other stuff. Today, we're going to be going in and doing a coffee and lube stream. That is right, folks. Here, let me kick over here and see if we can't do this right. We're doing a coffee and lube stream today, everybody. Yes, we are set up to do some lubrication. What I decided to do between the last stream on this, which is like over a week ago, and now, was get new rails. And here is why. Let me scoot this around and I'll bring you this way and see if you can tell. This is a dark linear rail, aka a black linear rail. We've got a nice gray frame, and then we're putting a black linear rail on said frame. Kind of doesn't look right. And to top that, yeah, I think what I'm going to do, since I'm replacing all of the gantry bits with the CNC metal bits, new motors and everything, that I am going to just take the Z motors and the lead screws and the small linear rails that ride on the bed mounts and bring those over here. I got brand new linear rails from KB3D right here in this tube. We'll go ahead and crack that open. We got 3 450 millimeter rails and 3 500 millimeter rails. The 450s are used for the gantry, and the 500s are used for the Z-axis. So I should have 6 linear rails in here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 that are slightly longer. There we go. We got our 6 linear rails. Awesome. So we're going to go through. We're going to open these up. I do have some shop towels sitting here. We do have the glove. I will have to walk over there and grab some lubricant. But the goal will be to get these lubricated and then put on the frame, and we can continue with the gantry. So for those that haven't been here, the goal of this rebuild is to go to the Nebula frame, which is chonky AF. It is 2020, 2040. There's 2040 in all the right places to make this a stronger frame, and it allows us to fully enclose the printer. So we're going to be able to have this printer fully enclosed, and we're going from printed parts to metal parts for all of the mounting. This is 1/8 inch thick, which is like what, 3.175 millimeter aluminum from SendCutSend. And when I ordered these, at least for the motor mounts, I got 2 sets. So I have enough to retrofit the smaller ZeroG Mercury One for the motor mounts, as well as for our bed mounts. So while these are CNC or laser cut aluminum sheet, this is SLM printed aluminum. I do need to go through and tap the holes. I did not have them tap the holes, so I'll need to tap these holes on the side and then all the holes down the top and the ones here on the bottom, and that will allow me, I guess the ones there for the cable chain, and that will allow us to screw everything in and get everything done that way. So let me grab the grease, and if I'm lucky, these will be pre-lubed. I don't think they are. I think the Honey Badger rails you can get from Fabrico would be. I don't think these are cleaned and repacked. So we will have to do all of these ourselves. So how are you doing today, sis? Sorry if I wasn't being too talkative today. It's been a day. We'll just put it that way. I had a meeting with the VP yesterday. We had a meeting with the VP today, and we're going to have a meeting with the VP tomorrow. So just busy day, busy week, busy month. How do we want to do these? These are the shorter rails, so these would be our gantry rails. And real fast, I just want to double check. Okay, we did get the right rails. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do is just take a look at these from the back side. And yep, all indications is these need to be lubricated. I love how these have a whoops. Not sure what that was about. I just had a pop-up saying that that was active. I wonder if my system's trying to do a reboot. But I love how the KB3D logo is on here. It's very faint. Let me see if I can catch the light just right. That would be a negative, but there is a KB3D logo on here. It's just very faint. And then we might as well open these up now too. We'll just do 3 at a time. These ones look like they're a little bit clearer on the KB3D etching. I just really cannot get a good, there we go. Come on. Hey, Eagle the Dragon, how are you doing? I'm feeling good. I'm doing good. Yeah. The AC's fixed. What I thought was the problem did wind up being the problem, but they got that fixed today, so that was good. It's starting to at least get a little bit better up here. So that would be one of the reasons why I wasn't streaming the last couple of days, is because it was 91 degrees up here in the Dragon Den. Like, it was literally the Dragon Den. Okay. All rails are now out and unpacked. Yeah, keep our eyes on that. And we're going to take these one at a time and pop them off. And we'll lubricate them and we'll put them back on and keep moving. The goal will be to get all 6 of these done today and installed on the printer, and then we'll keep going from there. You went to Costco, saw the MacBook Pro with 16 gig, think you're going to stay with the Air with 32. Yeah, that's a good thing. like I said, if you can deal with the smaller size or need the smaller size, go for it. Get the most amount of RAM that you can get, because that's the part that you can't upgrade. You know, if you only have like a 256 gig hard drive, you can always supplement that with an external hard drive. You cannot supplement RAM. So definitely spend money on the RAM side of the equation. Processor and RAM, right? Because once again, you can't upgrade MacBooks. So get the processor and RAM that you can. Okay. And remember, folks, one of the reasons why we're doing this over a paper towel is if we do dislodge any of the balls, we will catch those and be able to keep them in the channel, or on the paper towel, or on the glove if you got a little bit of the grease still left on the glove. So that's one reason why we always try and keep the paper towels over here. Give ourselves a little bit more room. And all I do is I'm just putting a bead of this EP2 right on the bearings, right across the top of the bearings, a liberal little bead, and then we'll take our finger and push it down into the bearing gaps, and then we'll rotate the bearings through the race. And what that's going to do is ensure that that grease gets worked down between the ball bearings and down into the race of the, the inner race of the bearing track. It's the M410 core. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember exactly mine. Give me a second and I'll pull up the spec. Yeah, mine's the Apple M4 Max with 64 gig of memory, and whatever the M4 Max is, I know it was the largest at the time. 14-inch XDR display, full terabit drive. Yeah, 16 cores. 12 performance, 4 efficiency. And once you get your rail started back on here, because I don't have one of the printed or plastic rail guides, what I'm doing is I'm taking my finger, putting it down in the middle and turning it a bit, which is putting a little bit of pressure on the retention springs for the bearings. And by doing that, that's going to allow us to keep the bearings in place and allow them to get pushed around and rolled in the channel or down through the raceway, rather than onto your finger, pushed out onto your cloth. I like to try and do 2 good beads on each side. So the first one, work it through. The second bead on there. Press that in, work it through, and that should be plenty of grease to keep those bearings running smoothly in the channel. Definitely a technique that you'll get get used to or get a handle on as you do linear rails or linear rods. So what's the weather like down there or up there? Are you getting a lot of heat, a lot of rain, mixture of both? Because it has been hot over here in North Carolina. Hey, Los Inc., how's it going? So I had gone ahead and gotten new linear rails because the linear rails that I had were all black. And that works really well for the Creality frame, or if you have a black frame, kind of, I don't want to say keeps it hidden, but it does. It kind of masks the mechanicals and puts the printer itself and its prints in the spotlight. So moving black rails over onto a gray anodized frame, they kind of just stick out. Now I do have palm coated lead screws, and I'm not going to swap those out, but I am going to try and minimize the amount of like black parts that are going to detract from the rest of the printer, because the onus on this is the black parts are the accent to, well, I'm going to call it a secondary accent. Okay, the first accent being the magenta, the neon magenta parts. And I'll show you all those here in a second. So we're moving from these blue parts with blue and blue and red, primarily the blue though, on a black frame, to, all right, what do I have that's got neon magenta. So all the panel clips and everything are going to be neon magenta. The skirts, the corners are the neon magenta. The main grill parts of the skirt are black, and then the center logo is once again the neon magenta with the black ZeroG symbol. So pretty cool. Leave that one there. Here we go. Or at least I like that color scheme. And then, like I said, my old Ender frame and the black rail and the entire gantry is going to go to a new home. Somebody else down at Ecovate, or actually one of the local NC print talkers by the name of Sandhills 3D, goes by Lomax, has brought in a pretty worn out Ender 5. And we're going to make it a ZeroG Merc with a Hydra, because we're going to leave all the old rails over there. The entire gantry is going to stay, which means I need to reprint all the parts for the tool head. And then, yeah, we'll take that down to Ecovate. We'll swap from his what we need to swap, and we'll just keep going. Which means now I'm debating, do I take the electronics I moved over here, moved it back, and basically just redo all the electronics? And like we've got Kraken motors that can handle 48 volts. Do we give her all we got and swap, I don't know, into, from a octopus to, I don't know, do we go to a kraken? I have a kraken sitting around. Hey Waters, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. If you're still down at the store, clean the fridge out. Why not give it all you got? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Might as well, right? I mean, we've already got all CNC lower motor mounts, all CNC gantry going to 9mm belts with Kraken motors, which will take up to 48 volts and have thermistors built into the motors. And then we also will have that all-metal gantry 9mm belts, the metal bed arms, and I think somewhere I may have some other pieces that we could potentially use for the, or no, we're not going to use those for this. We'll use that on the Trident. We'll go update the Trident 350 that has a tube in it. We got an ad getting ready to start. But yeah, the stream's going good, Waters. We got started and figured out that the company that keeps trying to send me something that says, hey, it was delivered, and I'm like, well, I never got it. I just got notification today that it was delivered. It's not here, but they sent me tracking info this time. And yeah, the reason it's not here is because they're sending it to the wrong address. So I think they just screwed up the order and sent it to the wrong place. Like, it's not even in the state. Hey, Waters. You like that? It's coffee and lube stream. Yeah, that's not going to work out for them because what it's going to do is they're either going to refund me after shipping 2 of these things to somebody, or I'm just going to file a claim and have the charge rejected. Because I mean, it's $100, but it's $100. So, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're good. We're going to go ahead and take this off now that I am literally sweating. Like, ugh. All right. I'll put this aside. And we will work on getting our gantry stuff put on. Once again, here is the printer. And I'm going to raise this up so you guys can see the color scheme down here on the skirts. Right, so there's that neon magenta with the black for the vented skirts. And the neon, or the magenta and black for the ZeroG logo in the middle. Now, you will see that or you may be able to see that I did a thing, and that thing was I went ahead and mounted the motors back here. And that's because I'm going to need these and these to be able to set up my front or linear rails up here. I'm also going to need a bunch of M3 roll-in T-nuts. So hopefully, did I get a bunch here? I did. Haha. So this is the part of the KB3D. Well, it's the Nebula frame from LDO, so it's got all the hardware in it, labeled with KB3D. So yeah, we need 10 of these. Wow, they're talking about like, hey, you know, your linear rail gunk, reassemble, do this, do that. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the manual and they've got like 20 or 30 pages just for prepping the linear rails. It's like crazy. Like, did I miss something here? Doing the gantry, we got our gantry stuff built. And it talks about doing all the linear rail cleanup prep stuff. And then it goes into the Z-axis. Why are we dealing? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I was trying to figure out where we are at. And where we are at is right here, without the window that I'm trying to show showing. So we'll fix that. There we go. It's right here. And this is where we're at. We're going to look at the Y-axis linear rail install. We've got various hardware. We're going to have a bunch of roll-in T-nuts. It says 18. That would be if we're doing every single one, I think, or at least they must be talking about doing, I don't know what they're talking about doing. How about that? Y rail right here is where we're going to be working at. I will try and move you guys around here some to see a little bit more of what I'm doing. Get this out of the way to give me a little bit more room. And what we're going to do is standard stuff. 5 go this way, 5 go this way. We'll set the rail over here, we'll line things up, and we'll go from there. And these are the 450 millimeter rails, so we're going to use the smaller of our 2 sets of linear rails. And I'm also going to need M3x8 screws. in 3x8. Button head or socket head? It looks like socket head. And 3x8 button heads. Socket head. Well, these are button heads as well. Well, what the heck? Why do I have two sets of M3x8 button heads? Or am I just reading things wrong? BSH or whatever is socket head. So I just saw the B and said, oh, that must be the button heads. Folks, I apparently will be right back because I left my 2.5 driver downstairs. By the way, the coffee part of the coffee and lube stream. And I'm back. So once again, we're going to take the shorter of our rails. We're going to kind of set it right next to the rail here, and we'll spread out our M3 T-nuts. Now, mind you, we're just going to get these close because as we go to install them, we can move it back and forth. We're not going to do everything super duper tight. Slide that over. And we're just going to get our screws started. You may go like, hey, wait a minute, you're not using your alignment jig. You're right. And I'm also not tightening these down just yet. We're just getting everything lined up this way first, and then we'll come back in and get everything lined up side to side. What's everybody working on this week? Any prints, any projects? You know, I've been dying. I've been trying to do some work, and with it being so hot and the AC out, made it kind of rough. I've got a Voron V0 and a Voron 2.4 downstairs that I've been working on for maintenance repair. And I've got prints for a job that I've also been working on. Now what I'm also going to do is take a look at my my other printer and see kind of about what the spacing will be, because I'm not sure if it tells me. Center the linear rail on the extrusion and align it to the center. Use printed alignment for this. Tighten the bolts going from the inside out. We've seen that before. Center the linear rail on the extrusion. Okay. Which means I need to find basically the center of the extrusion, and then we'll go from there. So we'll take our measuring device. Now I'm pretty much going to go, because I know this goes from the front to the back, that's 600. So 300 right here is the middle. And that is pretty darn rough about where we're at. I mean, it is pretty darn close, maybe a little bit further back. Yeah, so we're about 75 millimeters from the front to this beginning point is where we're going for. Now we need some linear, some MGN12 guides, and it just so happens that we've done a couple builds before that use those. So I didn't print out the ZeroG ones because, well, I should have some here. Yes, they were from a Voron, but they still work. 20 millimeter extrusion, still 20 millimeter extrusion. I'm going to set this over here. Set this one down here. And once again, we're going to start in the center and work our way out. And that's going to slowly tighten the center and push any potential bow or length to the outside. Hey K2, Kevin, how's it going? You were working on the poop conveyor. I saw that. That looks pretty cool. That is an awful lot of material though. Picking a state bar to take. I thought you were taking Kentucky. Are you like trying to pick a different state to go work in or something, Westery? You can always come down here in North Carolina. They have places for horses down here. You need to set up a few at the shop. What you need to do at the shop is reorganize a few things. Okay, so once again, we're going to start here in the middle. I'm going to start on the front edge at the middle. And you see one finger holding it down, two fingers. As soon as we get tight, that's it. We're just snugging. We're not doing the ugga-dugga. What I want to do is go get everything initially snug, and then we'll come back and do a little ugga-dugga action. And these are metal screws going into metal T-nuts with no printed parts in the way. And I can feel TurtleCrawler telling me in the back of my head, pull these out and put Loctite on them. I don't know why. And I probably know better because one, this is going to be heated chamber, and two, the Voron V0 that I had literally yeeted the gantry because the gantry came undone. Like, the gantry parts literally came loose over time and use and yeeted themselves off the printer. So probably a good idea to just go ahead, put some Loctite on these just as a precautionary tale. So we'll come over here and grab that Loctite. And once again, these are not ugga-dugga. Hey, Pezliz, they're just finger snug. So we'll take one out. Doing the same pattern. We'll take one out, Loctite it, put it back in, and we'll ugga-dugga it this time as we go through this process. Liz, you missed it. You can see the number of rails here. We were doing some lubing earlier on the stream. Had the gloves on and everything. And I'm even wearing the most appropriate shirt for it because I'm wearing the Coffee and Lube Stream shirt. There you go, put on a smart plug. See, the part I worry about with the conveyor would be, well, I guess you're not going to, I don't know, if you have a long line, the potential for it to collect if you have multiple machines doing the same type of print and they're pooping all at the same time, you know, can it cause a traffic jam on the conveyor? Does Miss Dragon approve? Miss Dragon approves of me getting projects done and getting things out of the living room. So when I'm done streaming today, I have to go downstairs and finish working on the Voron 2.4 350 project that's downstairs. I am trying and struggling to make the original afterburner tool head that they had on it work. And if it does, then I can just button it up, put panels on it, and send it on its way. If it doesn't, then that means I have to build the stealth burner, which, you know, more parts, but we would make it work. But yeah, she's approving of me getting rid of some stuff. And I'm not sure if people have seen the announcement, but if you're in the Raleigh, North Carolina area or willing to come here, August 2nd, okay? August 2nd, that is a Saturday, their Ecovate is holding a buy-sell trade printer event. So some more printers will be leaving the Dragon Den during said event, because the Dragon Den is now the owner of not 1 but 4 Centauri carbons. Basically, I'm trying to get rid of some things to make room for production machines, because I'm starting to pick up some orders. So the nice part with the Centauri carbons is I literally, Evil Diesel's like, hey, can you I know you picked up another one of these, can you do this print for me? Because he needed like multiples. So he was printing and he was going to need more, but it's like a 13-hour print. I was like, sure, send me the G code. Not the file to slice and the parameters, but the G code. He sent me the G code for the print that he was doing on his carbon, and I unboxed mine, let it go through its calibration routine and firmware update, and then I literally loaded up 3D Fuel PCTG and Midnight Black and hit upload and print, and printed the same exact G code that he was printing, so it's the same exact file, and it worked without a hitch. So first print on that printer was like a 13.5-hour print that I didn't even slice, and was not a stock Elegoo print either. So, hey Jeno, how's it going? Welcome back in. Thank you for the resubscribe for 17 months. That's amazing, Jano. It's amazing. And Liz, since while I'm getting ready to set up to do the other side, I'll come over here and we'll say, whoop, we're all prepared for the coffee and lube stream. We even have our coffee. We have our gloves out. Got a couple spares down here. So we lubricated all 6 rails, and you weren't here to catch it. I'm surprised you didn't hear it as soon as that glove went snap, because normally you just pop in as soon as that happens. Hey, Mr. Wizix, how's it going? Thank you for 18 months in a row. That is awesome, Mr. Wizix. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, if you get your poop going, or your poop conveyor going, and get your auto eject going, dude, you are almost set and ready for full-on automation going there. Uh-oh. And Pez Liz with the giant emote just kicked off a hype train. Whoop whoop. And just like that, we're 51% through a level 1 hype train. Thank you guys. I appreciate that so much. Kind of like Westery was last night. It's been such a while since I've had a hype train. But then again, I was starting to have withdrawals because I hadn't streamed in a little bit, just due to, the work stuff, and then having the AC pop. That was kind of that sucked. But yeah, it's good to be back. I'm hoping that we can get back on schedule and have a lot of good streams coming up. At some point, I need to build my fracs. I've been carrying it around in my backpack, and I keep going like, oh, well, I'll just build it now. And it's like, no, I want to do that on stream, Westery1 with a resubscribe for 19 months. Way to go, sis. That's amazing. Thank you. Jano hyping it up, lifting it up. You'll be like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Exactly. What is this? Holy hat, the Pez Liz beanie cap. See, I might have to get one of those at winter time because, you know, there's not a whole lot up here. And, yeah. Oompa Loompas. All right, and Jano, just to double check, you are pushing plastic now on your printer, correct? Because I know you were getting close and you were just trying to get things dialed in, if I remember correctly. Hopefully this is somewhat close and we can just do some little adjustments back and forth as we're doing this. Once again, we're just going to get these a few turns in just so the heads of the screws are underneath the top of the rail, so that lets me move the carriage around as needed. And we'll just keep moving the rail forward or back to line up the screw holes. Then we'll come back and we'll tighten them down just to finger tight. And once we have it there, then we'll come back in and pull them one at a time, put some Loctite on them, and do the final ugga-dugga on them. Oh, Liz, I love that emote so much. Love that emote. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's actually one of the stickers that I had made up. So, if you're ever near me at a RepRap festival or a maker meetup, I do have those stickers with me at all events. And I'm going to talk to the automated folks as well about getting some swag from them for the shows coming up, because we will be bringing a couple of printers, auto eject, and a few other things to 3D Printopia and Bel Air. You're going to be adding a new part cooling fan duct as the cooling is not optimal. Yeah, that happens. You're going to head out and take a nap? All right, sounds good, Waters. And was it K2 Kevin just subscribing for oh wait, Big Jano gifted a tier 1 sub to K2 Kevin, and Jano has given 9 gift subs. Thank you, Jano. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. For those of you who keep score, Jano was also out at a wedding recently. That seemed to have gone well. That seemed to have gone well. I'm not sure if there's any future planning going on there, but and I am so just teasing with that, Jano. Don't come kill me. Okay. That is approximately lined up. 75 millimeters from the end of the rails and the ends of the thing there. And I'm hoping they mean literally centered on the extrusion and not on the between the back and the front. If so, we'll figure that out soon enough. So we're going to take our alignment blocks, set them in place over here. I mean, it's not like we can't loosen these up, scoot them down, and retighten them. Oh, I thought it was a wedding. That's right. It was a baptism. Kind of looked like it could have been a wedding, though. I apologize. Baptism. See, now I'm messing up events and everything. Once again, one finger sitting on top just to guide it, and just using two fingers lightly. And as soon as it snugs down, you'll feel that change. And boom, you stop. Go on to the next one. We are not putting any of the UGA to the Duggas on this. We're just merely working our way back and forth. Thanks for the lurk, Westry. Got to walk Mia and Bailey's. Yep, give Mia lots of treats too. Okay, so we got this snug down, and once again, we're going to take these out one at a time. And when we put these back in with the Loctite on them, we're going to go ahead and give it that little bit of an ugga-dugga. And then we drop the screw. See, this is the other reason why I need to work on getting projects finished, is because I'm running out of room for said projects. We've got the riff over here that hopefully we're going to get a new installment on from the designer very soon. And then we've got this project, which we should be able to make some pretty decent progress here, depending on what I decide to do for the tool head. Now that I have decided to leave the old tool head and the gantry exactly as it is for its new owner. That means I get to put a new tool head in here. So we can go with the new undisclosed tool head or hot end, or we can use the Thetis Next G fiber hot end that I have. I think I probably have another Rapido. So I mean, there are options. there are options. Maybe I'll throw out a poll on X to see what everybody thinks would be a great idea, because I will need to make that decision soon so I can start printing parts. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the Y rails are in place. I'm going to go ahead and leave the stoppers there for now. Because I don't want the rails to move off if I'm doing other things. Let's see what's up next that we got the Y rails in. We did the left side, we did the right side, center, tighten, blah, blah. Stepper pulleys, those are already done. And gantries is installed, stepper towers are installed. Basically what I'm doing is we've already built these parts. Now I'm coming back to the manual as far as the how to install everything onto the gantry. So we kind of went back and forth with CAD on these things. Stepper towers, once again, they are installed back here now. So we've got our steppers already installed. And they show only using 2. These actually have provisions for 3, so 2 on the center rail, 1 on the front side. So we've got 3 of those in there. Tension tower assemblies, those are already assembled and installed at the front. I do have the tension plates installed in place as well. Let me turn this around and I will pop you guys off here and bring you around and show you. So we've got our tension towers that mount here. This is a flathead or countersunk screw. So they're nice and flush there. And then we'll have the tensioning bolts that'll go through the top piece and go into the heat set insert that's down there. And what you'll do is you'll loosen the 5mm bolt that's there, slide it forward, just get it engaged, and that starts as your starting point for when you get ready to belt things. Okay, once again, we've got our motors mounted back there. We now have our rails mounted. So next up, M3 by 16 on that hardware, M3 by 20 or M5 by 20. Looks like that you're using an M3x16 for the actual tension plate. Tensioning mechanism. Yeah, M3x16 with a washer. I will double check with the CAD and put in the appropriate screw. Based on the CAD that TurtleCrawler provided for the CNC gantry mounts, it might be something bigger. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Or something longer. The X-axis linear rail. So here we go. We'll need our other linear rail, or our other extrusion. This is our gantry extrusion here. We will be using the same hardware, which is the M3 hardware. We just get to do that up here on the bench. M3x8, 2020 extrusion, linear rail, M12x8 linear rail. This is going to be $450 for the Ender 5 Plus. We'll need some M3 roll-ins, some M5 roll-ins. We're going to prep this by setting up our linear rail mount. So there's the 10. These should be able to go back in here. And 5 going that way, 5 going that way. And by going that way, I mean that's the direction that the hole is in the roll-in T-nut. And this time I'm just going to kind of set it right next to it. And we'll get these lined up, eyeballing it. And Kevin McKesh is back. He rolled into town straight from the airport and went to Ecovate this morning, so I know he's back in town. Last I saw him, he was sacked out on a couch. Probably something to do with jet lag coming back from California, so if he does not get hold of you today, bear with him. He'll get hold of you tomorrow. I know I keep saying that, but I'm going to keep on him until he gets you squared away. Get off the couch and call Kevin. No, he was looking pretty ragged today from all the travel. You know, he flew out Thursday. I think it was Thursday. Did open sauce, and then, like I said, he just got back and came straight into Ecovate, where I was remote working out of today because, well, No AC here at the house, and the internet was down on and off during the weekend. And with me having a meeting with the VP, I decided to go somewhere where I should have good internet connection. Just couldn't bring myself to go into the office fully, though. One more of these. And I am going to assume it could be a bad thing. One of these is too tight. And we're going to center this rail. Add rail to extrusion, slide the loaded rail under the extrusion one at a time, glide the T-nuts into the extrusion channel, loosen or tighten the bolts to adjust the height of each nut as needed. Center and align the rail. See, I figured I was going to be centering. Let's use something smaller than a meter stick to measure this out. And for those of you watching at home, you're looking for approximately 25 millimeter reveal on each side. Yep. I have faith. And I just felt that move. So I'm going to push this down here. I'm going to double check that reveal. We're still good. Okay. Same thing. We've got our 2020 alignment jigs on there. We've got our side to side, so it's centered on the extrusion. And we're just going to go through, tighten these up one at a time, just finger tight. Okay. And hey, look at this. Finger tighten the M3x8 bolts in the pattern below, then fully tighten them in the same pattern. Then remove your alignment tools. And we're going to do that one at a time, putting Loctite on them just to make sure that our screws do not go anywhere, because once again, we're going to be in a heated chamber, high tension or high belt tensions, and yeah, potentially moving fast. So we want to make sure that these do not loosen over time and lead to a catastrophic failure when our rail gets loose and then slams the head into a print or the bed. So who all is getting prepped and ready for 3D Printopia? I know it's at the end of September, but I know I started doing maker chips. Mrs. Dragon has been running her P1S pretty much nonstop doing maker chips and dragonflies and flowers. She's also been working with Evil Diesel. They're going to be adding proper wings to her Dragonfly Death Racer so that when it's on display, it'll actually have wings sticking out the sides. And then, did we do this one already? No. And then when it's ready to race, we'll take the wings off and, she'll just have the side panels on there when she's rolling it. Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, so you got yours done. Now you're doing another 2,000 to 4,000 because you're getting contracted out to do various vendors, right? I need to get some more of my own going because I'm not nearly there enough yet. I just have to keep pulling stuff off to do some other things, but now that I've got the additional Centauri carbons, I'll be able to dedicate an X1C to just running maker chips. Okay, so those are down in there and secured. We're going to get rid of our alignment blocks. Also down in there. Okay, let's see what's up next. Add M5 T-nuts to the end at the top and the bottom. So the placement of these M5 T-nuts may be slightly different just because we're using different gantry points. They'll be the M5s, but they may be, it's saying 5 millimeters in at the top, 10 millimeters in at the bottom. It's going to be a different location, right? We're just going to get these prepped in there and give us the ability to move them around. Bottom X joints. So this is going to tell us to build the bottom X joints and get them installed on the rail and then mount our rail or our X gantry and then install the M5x12 bolts from the bottom, install our top X joints, and that's where it may get interesting because, well, my X joints I have fully built, and you'll notice that there's a pass-through right here where our extrusion is supposed to go. So, yeah, we're going to have to get this mounted, and I need to double check which is on which side. Do these go? Yes, these will go to the outside. These are on the inside, I believe. But I'm going to pull up the Fusion file real fast and we'll double check. So drop that down. We'll bring up Fusion. You have to get Polymaker done first, sponsor, of course, and a few other contracted. You're happy to see a lot of vendors are printing their own these days. Yeah, that's good. That is good. Spend on the other. Oh, I didn't know I had it on my Mac. Interesting. Well, I mean, I know I have it on my Mac. I just didn't know I had Fusion still up and running or a session up and running on one of my Macs. Okay. You know what? I logged in and downloaded files, so it probably still has a login session open on the other thing. And it really needs to have a open recents. I don't think it matters. We're doing Imperial. All three of them are on here. And what I'm doing right now is I am literally looking for the orientation. So this is going to be correct. Looking at the front of the machine, the two top screws are at the back and our bearing is towards the front on the inside. So that's basically how this is going to go on there. And I have to install this on here first. And hopefully I don't have to undo this whole thing and take the top off. I probably could. Just hopeful that I don't need to. Probably could do it that way. Had these Loctited in there. I can only imagine how many you've got to do, though, Kevin. So there's those four. Now, can I get this off without pulling the everything off like I just did? Do that, pull these off, and now that will give me access to all four of those holes that I'm going to need. And this is the left side mount. So I'll move this over and it's going to go on this side. And we're going to be installing these with what? M3x8 flathead countersunk screws, which you guys cannot see because I am not showing the appropriate screen. There we go. So we're doing these little screws right here. They're going to be M3x8 flathead countersunk screws. And we're going to want to Loctite these in place when we get there. So we'll grab our Loctite. These are going to be our 2mm, the 2mm driver. And like we normally do, we'll get the screw in there close, and then we'll make sure we get all four in, and then tighten them down in crossing pattern. That way we make sure that we get everything aligned up properly. And then the last one is also going to be the hardest one to get to, at least to get it in there. Once we're in there, it'll be easy. We're going to do just like before. We're just getting it initially snugged. And then we'll do the ugga-dugga in a crossing pattern. Just like so. Everything still moves freely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this all the way to the back where it's hitting that rubber stop. Okay? Now we're going to come over and prep the other side. Turn you. And by prep the other side, I basically mean take all four screws out and take the top off like we did before. There we go. I was just trying to pry that off, and of course I just knocked all of my spacers off on the one I was trying not to. So let's work on getting these back on there in the correct order. Too big and a small. Okay. So this is going to get lined up on this side here. Scoot this over, maybe rotate it a bit so you can see what I'm doing. Just going to get that quasi lined up. I'm going to need 4 more of my M3x8s. A little Loctite on these. And probably drop the screws somewhere. We'll go find that one in a second. Not going to tighten it all the way down. I'm just going to get it started. Uh-oh. Hey, Mad Scientist Stack. How's it going? You're out of the maker seed for like 2 years. Can someone please explain the maker chip thing to me? Should I have one? Take it away, K2 Kevin, the designer of the maker chip. And the short answer will be, of course you need one. That's number 3. Now I get to find the screw that I dropped earlier. Okay. Easier said than done. M3x8 countersunk in carpet. There we go. Found it. I normally have better angles than this. I apologize. This is just a rather large printer. And it starts getting heavy after a bit. Especially since instead of putting printed parts on, we're putting CNC'd aluminum parts and all the jazz. So there we go. We got those on. Now, we need to take our bottom spacers here. Again, we're going to take our bottom spacers, slide that down on that side, and we'll do the bottom one on the other side. And if you remember, I slid both of these all the way back. So that's going to be the closest to alignment that I have right now. We're going to take our extrusion. That's not what I wanted. This one. We're going to set our extrusion down on the base. On top of those, we're going to line up the bottom M5 nuts. And then we're going to put in a, let's see. We are going to put in an M5x12 button head cap screw. Three eighths and 3/12. Well, I don't have button heads. I have, I have button heads, but they are silver because these are the ones that I purchased. So One just went down on the floor again. There we go. So we've got our M5x12. We're going to take our rail and we're going to set it down on our frame, and we're going to basically line it up right on those printed parts. And then we'll have to go underneath and fish our nuts over. So what I'm going to do is push them further inside so that when I come in underneath, I can adjust them to the appropriate spot. And in essence, what I'm doing is I'm getting these pushed back against the stoppers, and I'm going to line these up with the extrusion with the edge of those printed spacers. So from there, I know I'm using button heads, so I'm going to use a 3mm driver, and I'm going to use some gravity to my advantage by laying this down on the ground so I can see where I'm going to be moving these T-nuts. Be careful that I don't lose any of the spacers and stuff. I'm just going to pop that stack out right now so I don't lose it. And once again, I do apologize for the angles here. This is just a beast of a printer. Now, because we're going through a printed part, and said printed part is ABS or ASA, I believe it's a neon ASA, we do not, under any circumstance, want to use Loctite on those particular joints because it will deteriorate the plastic and cause the plastic to crack and become brittle and break. So we need to put this bearing stack back in there. I really need to push this down in there a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Tiny bit more. It's a plastic spacer that I'm fighting right there. Okay, so we've got those in. We're going to need our top pieces now. And they're going to go in there right in the same way as the bottom pieces. And we need to make sure that they line up with our hole when we put our top cap on. So we're going in the outer. So you'll notice that there's an inner and an outer hole. We want it on this outer side, is how we're going to line up the M5 nut underneath. So we'll set that in place. We'll scoot this over to line that up fully. We'll take our plate, line it up with our bearing and stuff. We'll grab our 2mm and reinstall our M3x8 screws. And there is Loctite on these, so we're still good there. And I'll go through and ugga-dugga these down. Step over and do the same thing over on this side. We'll get our top plate lined up. Make sure that our T-nuts moved over and lined up, and that we put our printed spacer piece in as well. Where are you going? Go that way. And that once again, it lines up on the outer edge, which is where this should now line up at. We'll get these 4 screws back into our top plate. Get these snug down. Now, mind you that we are, just a reminder, we're putting stainless steel screws into aluminum standoffs. You can shear the threads in these standoffs. Oh, hey, Free Heathen, how's it going, my friend? And Mad Scientist slacked. If you're selling or otherwise want to share what you're doing with others, MakerChip, thank business card. Exactly. It is a business card for 3D printing. Mine has a link to the Twitch channel, and from there you can get pretty much everywhere else. Hey, Free Heathen, welcome on in. Hey, Pete, how's it going? The battle is going well, Free Heathen. So we're doing a coffee and lube stream. We do have coffee, thanks to Duncan. We lubed all 6 of our linear rails up. We just put 3 on, so we've got our Y and our X now installed. So that's there. Let me see, we've got those beneath. Let's flip this up, and the top are also M5x12, so we need 2 more of those. We'll be able to install this fully. And it's weird because we're trying to follow the guide for the printed parts from a order of operations type thing, right? And then we're doing the gantry CAD because we're installing a all-metal gantry here. So we're kind of having to go a little bit back and forth between the CAD and the documentation. There we go. So how do you join it? Just hang out and tease. Is this a good candidate for the LDO stealth changer? I don't believe so. This is basically taking a Ender 5. No, this is a full printer build at this point. It's literally going to be a full printer build. We have the brand new Nebula frame. So this is a full Nebula frame kit. We built one just like it before. When we did the smaller size Ender 5 Pro, which is a 235 bed. Let me come back here to the main view. So we've got this. This is basically a trident at this point. The ZeroG Mercury One is a CoreXY Gantry system that replaces the Cartesian style gantry system on an Ender 5. The Hydra mod is a triple lead screw setup a la a trident with a different kind of kinematic bed mount. And what that gets you now is a fully articulating bed. Now, the stealth changer works better on 2.4s because you can set it up above what would normally be the gantry level, and you can slide forward, pick up your tool head, and then come back down. With this, you're going to lose XY or Y space, Y depth, if you did it with something like this. Though this might be potentially better suited for maybe an index, where you would be picking up the tool, like having a standard belt path, but you're picking up a tool that is at the rear on the bar. But let me lift this up. She's getting heavy. This is our build so far. Like I said, this thing is massive. It is just as tall, if not taller, than the VCore 4. On this build, the reason I say this is a full build, in essence, is we have now built a frame from scratch, which is called Nebula. Okay, so this is an LDO gray frame, not space gray, but gray frame. So basically nice Masumi extrusions that are anodized gray. And we have gone with CNC gantry from TurtleCrawler. And he's got two versions, a 6mm and a 9mm. So we're doing the 9mm belts. We're using Kraken motors for the A and B, which are a little bit thicker and they can handle more voltage, and they have thermistors in them. So we'll be able to not only give her all she can take with the 48 volts, but we'll be able to monitor the temperatures of the A and B motor as we're printing. The Nebula frame also enables you to fully enclose the printer, which we will be doing. And TurtleCrawler was nice enough to say, hey, also have the Z-axis all metal. So we now have laser cut, bent, and tapped. This is the rear, that's why it's bent and tapped, but the rest are just laser cut because all these holes are through holes. Motor mounts for the Z-axis. And let me switch over here to bench side. SLM. So yes, these are 3D printed metal parts. These are not CNC'd. These are 3D printed metal parts. I do need to tap all of these holes for the screws, for the M3 screws, to include the ones over here for the cable chain mount. But that's something that we will do. It's not cast. It looks cast. It is not cast. This is SLM 3D printed. The carriages are made to work with either MGN-H or MGN-C rails. So you can do H or C rails. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the parts off of the old Ender, the old ZeroG Mercury. We'll recover the 100 millimeter linear rails that are used for the kinematic mount. We'll tap these, we'll install the hardware on here, we'll get these installed, and these parts will go with the printer, and they will go to a new home. An individual is going to be getting these. We also have these little 3D printed tank. These are the kinematic mounts for the, this holds the magnet and the ball. So, yep, we'll have those. So yeah, everything is nice and fancy on this. I think what I'm going to do next is I need to get the other Z motors off, and yeah, we're going to be making some changes on what we're doing. So I'm going to take the electronics back out of this, and it will go back over to the other one. And I will just do all new electronics. I'm talking, you guys can't see. So on the previous stream, we took the drop DIN rail mounted electronics that you see down here, and we just physically pulled them out of one printer and put them over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move these back over there. I'm going to print new drop mounts because, yeah, I think we're going to go to a Kraken with a 48 volt power supply and run at the very least the top motors 48 volt, if not all of the motors at 48 volt. We will go with a Kraken to do that because I have a Kraken board here. So I need a 24 volt, a 48 volt. We'll have an SSR, and we will get, instead of using the CAN bus, we will go with a Nighthawk 36 board, which is USB based versus CAN bus for the toolhead board. And all the printed parts on this, by the way, let me hold this back up. All the printed parts are neon magenta and black. So that's neon magenta and black. So that's the color scheme going here. And let me just take a quick gander over here and see what I have power supply wise. External brick. Meanwhile, LRS 100 5 volt power supplies. Those are going to be for lighting. Those ones are for lighting, I believe. I've got a UHP over here. This is a UHP 350 48. So there's our 48 volt power supply right there. So we've got the UHP 350 48 volt. So this is 350 watts, 48 volt, 4 amp, or no, 7.3 amp output. So definitely more than what we would need just to drive 2 motors, but there's nothing that says we can't drive all of the motors at 48 volt. Just saying. but we do have to provide 24 volt into whatever board that we're doing. So this would be secondary input into the board for the motors, and I will need a 350 for the board itself. And then what do we do? Yeah, well, think about that. I'm going to have to pull these out. What I'm going to do is pull the other front motor system. Actually, I should probably... You guys enjoy my my in the place thinking as I'm trying to think through this right now? I can put this rail on, that rail on. I need to take this rail off and put the other silver one on. And this black rail will go back onto the other printer. We can do that easy enough without having to really do much. Let's go ahead and pull the electronics, the DIN rails back out, and we can move that aside. That will also make this a little bit lighter, and possibly we can put things up here and work on it up in place. So we'll get this out of the way. 48 volt, we'll set this aside. Set that on top of the Creality where I will forget it, as you know, within 30 seconds I will forget it. We'll grab our 3mm and we're just going to undo the DIN rails here. I really wish I had better angles. So we're going to need to undo the DIN rails. I'll have to undo the power switch and stuff. I might just go with a filtered inlet and everything and swap all of this stuff back over to the other frame. So what do we've got? We've got the switch. That one came out. That one goes between the two. This one goes there. Yep. This one goes there. And that's completely undone from the switch. Now I'll undo this one and we'll be able to lift both of these out at the same time. And just move the whole shebang, all the electronics as one. Like I said, I'll be able to take it and put it back over in the other printer as if nothing ever happened. Yeah, this is a pretty cool setup. Let me see if I can't get some, if I can get the electronics out of the way here, might be a little bit easier to show stuff off. All right, so that's done. Oh. So there you go. Standard electric setup on drop DIN rails. We'll just set this to the side. We'll put it back in the other printer in a little bit. As in later tonight, probably off stream. And oh, I want to do this. I'm going to need to take this back off, this being this linear rail off. And can I lay this down on here? I could if I get everything moved out of the way. 3, 2.5, 2. Put these over there. Get these off over here to the side because we'll be installing them on the printer. Set these over here. It's awesome how I just move stuff from point A to point B all the time. I need those to do that. This goes away. That goes away. That lays down so it's out of the way. Okay, I think everything's out of the way and we'll be able to set this up and lay it down. Just like this. And what we're going to work on, like I said, is we're going to unscrew the carriage here. We're going to undo this rail so we can take it off, and we'll put in the regular stainless steel colored rail in its place. So I think what I'm going to do is move this up some. Doing every other one or every second one? Apparently every other one. So we'll do that. We'll need our 2.5. And we're going to need to back these off. These were all put in with Loctite. I'm not going to be able to get these two with the lead screw there, so I'm going to have to pull the lead screw out. Makes sense. I need a co-host. Yeah, I probably could use a co-host. Keep trying to get Diesel to come and hang out with me, but you know, got the kid and all that. So we'll go ahead and we'll take this truck or this arm completely off. And we'll see, we'll probably get the rails on. I don't know if we'll get into tapping all the threads because we're going to have to tap all of the threads and the other arm. But you'll see here, we tapped all of these holes here. This is our truck, for lack of a better term, our little tank. And this tank is what the kinematic bed rides on. So there's going to be a screw that comes through the bed and a standoff right here. In fact, there's the aluminum standoff. M4 screw comes down in it, and it's this movement right here that allows the bed to get a little cattywampus. And I'll show you how interesting it can be. We are missing a screw down here, but that's because I broke a tap down in that hole. And I'm not digging it out, or I'm not gonna drill it out. So, and I only have one other tap, so I have to be careful when I do those other screws that I don't screw it up. Okay, why are you not sliding? That one's done. There we go. Slide that down some. Now I can take all these screws out. And we'll swap this black rail for one of the silver MGN12 rails. And once again, this is a 500 millimeter rail. So this is a full 1/2 meter long. So we had 450 rails up on the gantry. And if you remember right, this build volume is 370 by 370 by 420. So once again, this is fairly big, and I'm going to just put my whole body in through the bottom of the printer now. Get that one out. We'll just set this rail over here. We'll grab one of these rails, set it in place. We'll get our screw holes, should be pretty much lined up. We're just going to get these started. We're not going to drive them all the way in, because we've got to go through our little tightening ritual. Tightening and alignment ritual. Hey, Shrimp Father, how's it going? Martin, welcome in, welcome in. So I'm doing every other screw, and there's 2 right here in the middle without a screw in it. And I'm going to slide this back down, and what I'm doing is I'm using the motor mount here as a guide to set this straight at the bottom. Now the top, you'll see that I don't have the jig in there. Well, that's because this is literally a 2060, and I have no way of really setting that gap. So I'm kind of predicating my straightness on the bottom. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to snug down the bottom and just start working my way up. Now, what should happen is as these screws go down, they should help self-align it on the actual roll-in T-nuts underneath. And if I want to get really, really technical, I could literally put a dial indicator on the truck, put it against the face, and slowly move it up and down to make sure that this rail is specifically aligned up with this face of the rail. If I want to be slightly less technical, I can literally grab a measuring device and just kind of look at the reveal as I slide it up along the rail to see if that reveal is staying the same or not. Now, once again, this is a kinematic mount system. It's not going to be the end of the world if one of these is slightly off. This one actually looks fairly good on the reveal. Now, because I'm using this motor mount as the keying joint, I want to go from the bottom all the way up, just getting these finger tight like before. Yep. And now I'm going to start from the bottom here and do my ugga-dugga. And I'm going to work from one end to the other. What this is going to do is any type of bow is going to get moved completely down through this. So that's kind of your two options. Start in the center and work your way out, or start at one end and go the other end. But under no circumstances would you ever jump around from like end to end and work your way into the middle, because that would leave any type of bow or side-to-side inconsistency in the middle, and that would lead to some bad problems. And with that locked down, run your carriage, make sure it's not binding anywhere, which it could be if you got some side-to-side movement. Hey, Jedi Spidey, welcome in. How's it going? The jig is up. Yep. Thanks, Mad Scientist Slack. That is actually what I'm known for on my stream, is going through and explaining not just what I'm doing, but why I'm doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this line back up. And if I wanted to be really, really anal, I could literally go through and redo all of the Loctite on this. Technically, and I know Free Heathen will probably call me out on this, you know, it's been used once. You really need to reapply it for best results, but I'm not. Did I miss your hello earlier? I am sorry, Jedi Spidey. I'm doing my typical thing where, you know, I'm busy face down trying to do screws and I miss chat. When you lock any of your carriages down, you always do it in a crossing pattern. And I always creep up on it, getting the screws in, and then do that crossing pattern, and then make sure it still slides. If you use the wrong side screws, you can actually tighten this down and distort the internal races of your bearings, and then you messed up. That's what you done. You done messed up. So now we're going to go ahead and thread our lead screw in a ways. Just some random amount. And we're going to go ahead and push it all the way down until it's fully down in here. And then we will tighten this up. Now I like these being the not necessarily the ones with the spider plastic in the middle, but the clamping versus the set screw style. So in a set screw style, your screw is going against the threads of a lead screw, which means one's going to be on a thread and one's going to be in the groove between a thread, right? Here you're clamping around the threads completely, and this gives me a lot better connection. Once again, Loctite on these. That way they don't back out on you mid-print and start giving you a weird, what is going on there? A weird print artifact. And I am seeing that this lead screw's got some wobble to it. That's perfectly fine, because once again, each lead screw is independent. And you should be able to shimmy shake some of this out. And when I say shimmy shake, I'm going to bring this up some, and then I will go ahead and pull this out and retighten it again. You can also put an Oldham coupler on here. Yeah, there's a bit of a wobble or twist on this lead screw. You can chase it, or you can just leave it. You can put an Oldham coupler down here, which will allow a little bit of movement in all axes, X and Y. But the nice thing about this setup is it doesn't 100% matter if this has a bend in it, because as it rides up, this kinematic mount is going to be able to adjust ever so slightly to that wobble, and it'll just go away. So this rail, once again, is going to go back on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and do my motor mount and the other rail over here. And then on the back one, we'll be able to use our alignment jigs. How many screws did I use here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 10. Still doing 10. And it goes on the innermost side here, so. And this is a 2040. The 2040s are a little bit harder on the on our roll-in T-nuts to get them truly rolled in. So you'll see me use a little helper along the way to kind of roll it. Probably should use something other than a 1.5. How about the broken 1.5? That way if I break it again, I'm not going to cry over it. Good gracious. Or we're just going to do what I think I did before, and that's just load it in directly from the top. And then pull it down. One. Yeah, so Jedi Spidey is planning on bringing some printers to the August 2nd printer buy sale trade event. So if you're in the market for some printers, I think he's got a couple of printers he's going to be bringing. I'm bringing a couple. And then, yeah, we should have several really nice printers there. And I'm sure we'll have some standard Ender 3, kludgy stuff, but, people need projects. Should say other people need projects. I've got enough projects right now. One of the reasons I'm trying to work on getting this done is we've got the Micron Plus build for Zura in the queue. Okay. So once again, the goal here is just to get 10 holes lined up and get them started. Once we get all the holes started, then we'll worry about true up-down placement. Okay, there we go. That's going to get us the initial alignment. I have silver screws over there and black screws here. Darn it. What do I want to do? Black screws are fine, but it's going to drive me nuts if I'm not doing the same. And I know black screws came with a kit, but because I'm using the silver screws in a lot of different places, I'm going to not use these. And I know I just put them in all of the rails up top. Sorry, folks. I'm just thinking right now. If I want to go down and grab my M3x8 silver button heads or just go with we're just going to go with the black. I'm going to live with it. I'm going to live with it. And I think as I'm putting them in these time, I will start with the thread locker from the get-go. Thanks for the lurk, Pete. So, Mad Scientist Slack, I will say that I do have a tendency to run long on streams, especially on the weekends, though I'm trying to get a little bit better of keeping my streams to just 2 or 3 hours. So we're probably at the 2.5 hour mark right now, so we'll go a little bit further. We'll try and get these 3 rails installed, and then we'll chit chat a little bit because I am going to have to tap the other 2 bed mount rails before I can install those. And what I'll do is I'll get those I'll get as much as I can installed, and then next installment we'll come back and keep on building. So again, we're going to take the motors from the other chassis, because I think if we do I'm going to leave the rails for a future upgrade to a Hydra, But we should be able to leave all that stuff in there and just still mount the old or the existing Ender 5 plus Z for the other individual, Lomax. So that way, if he decides to go, he's got the rails and stuff, or if he tells me, nope, I'm fine with the Ender 5, I'll just take those rails and recover some 500 millimeter rails and stuff for a future project. Okay, so we've got that there. We're going to need our motor mount, because remember, this gives us our lower alignment point. So let's go ahead and get our M5 T-nuts and stuff going to mount that. And it's 2 on this side, 1 on that side. Or 1 on the ground there, because why not? Here we go. 1 there. And then these two, once again, are going to be on a 2040, so we'll probably have to fight a little bit with them to get them twisted. There's not going to be an option to slide these in because, well, the rails are already in place. Okay, so those are there. We're going to need M5 by 10, I believe, is what we used here. And I'm going to need M5 by 10 button head screws. Those are 14. I've got 12s over there. 5 by 25. M5 by a lot bigger. Maybe we use 12s. Do we use 12s? Probably. Let's make sure 12s will fit. Wells will be way too big. Means we need to be using probably M5 by 8s. From there, I grab them. Nope. All of those ones are still in that motor mount. So let's take a look at M5 by 10. Does 10? And it's still too much. So we definitely need M5 by 8s, which means I need to find my M5 by 8s. Don't have any there. You know what? I bet you I grabbed M5 by 8s from downstairs. Folks, bear with me. I will be right back. as I go downstairs and grab the M5x8s that I had shipped in. Yeah, because if I remember right, we grabbed M5x8s from the tool chest for the event stuff, and so I ordered some more. So I've got M5x8s here. Go ahead and use these. Need 3 of those, and once again, this is going through metal into metal, so we can technically use some Loctite. So we'll use some Loctite. We're going to go in this kind of direction, so we'll line these 2 up first, and then we'll slide it down and do the last one. After I go and recover the M5x8 that I just dropped on the ground. Yeah, once again, because we're going to be dealing with an enclosed chamber, which means higher temp, and going with beefier motors running 48 volts, higher tensions on our belts and stuff. We are Loctiting everything that we can, just because that's going to give us the best responsiveness, but the best capability, I'll say, for our system to not destroy itself. I have had machines in the past that gantries and stuff have come loose due to vibrations and high-speed printing. So a little bit of Loctite now is going to save us a lot of pain and agony later if we're having to take everything back apart to rebuild, realign, and replace parts. Oh, there we go. So once again, I'm going to use my little measuring device here. I'm going to run right up the side and make sure that our reveal is pretty much the same all the way up. And that will mean side to side we're pretty straight. Is it going to be accurate to the, 10,000ths of a millimeter? No. But it's good enough for an overgrown hot glue gun, which is what 3D printers are. Once again, as long as you're not going through printed parts, you're good to use your Loctite on everything. If you are going through a printed part, don't use Loctite. Save yourself the agony It doesn't even take direct contact. The fumes will be enough to cause you problems. Okay, so like I said, save yourself the agony of going through the hassle of saying, wow, I just screwed things up. Okay, this gets moved into the semi-middle or out of the way. Put these over here. Last thing I want to do is knock a thing of washers everywhere. We're going to rotate this 180 degrees so that we can put in our last rail. Trying not to scratch things up or knock things over in the process. And also trying not to damage any wires that may be hanging out. Okay, so there we are. We've got the spot for our last rail. We're also going to need to install our last motor mount. The nice thing is this is going to, there's only one way that can mount, and it's going to be like that. So it can't go, well, I guess it could go like that, but as you can see, it's not going to go that way. So this is the only way it's going to go. There's two screw holes on each side. So we'll need 4 M5 T-nuts. You're going to see me come over here and grab into my own stash because, well, I've used all the ones from the other bag. Oh, man. Dude, slap me silly. I poured 2 bags of M3 T-nuts on top of my M5s. Wow. Just wow. That was first stream remove right there. But no, I was expecting to be in a sorting stream tonight. To include myself. Good news is M3 to M5 is pretty easy to identify. They kind of stand out. Now, if you had M4, M5, those can be a little more difficult. Now, we know we're going to need 10 M3s, so I might as well go ahead and put some of those in now as I'm digging them out to find my M5s. Here's the M3s, so technically that's all that I need to do for right now. So we will finish that recovery effort later. We're going to need 4 M5s, 2 on each side. Or 2 on each side, if I can speak English right. I'm going to keep shoving my head through here and banging it until I can get things semi-lined up. Those should be good. Need 4 more of these, and we'll go ahead and Loctite these in to get that other motor mount done. And then, like I said, I will pull the motors from the other one and bring them over. Or I guess I can, I mean, these are stepper online. I think I might actually have another set. I don't know. I'll do something. I'll get motors over here, one way or the other. And 3. So the Hydra bed mount does not work with the Creality bed. You must use a Mike 6 Trident build plate, or 2.4/Trident build plate. So if you have a spare one, you're in like Flynn. If you don't, then you won't be able to use the Hydra mount or the Hydra setup. What is going on here? There we go. It's being cantankerous, not lining up. So we'll get this motor mount on. We'll get the other upright in, and then we will be good to go for the evening. And we'll come back on the next stream and make sure we get our motors installed and all that good stuff. We'll just keep truggling away. All right. Just like before, we will go ahead and get our M3 screws started. Once we get them all started, then we'll shake, rattle, and roll some things. Hey, Shenanigans, how's it going, friend? Hope you're doing well. We are having a blast here getting our ZeroG Mercury One. I was calling it a rebuild, and it's slowly turning into just a build. We're in the process of... We got new rails because I didn't like the black rails on... Well, darn you. I didn't like the black rails on the gray frame. So we went with all new rails. And now that we did that, I'm going, well, if we're going with all new rails, why don't we look at, well, what? We did All-Metal Gantry, new rails. We're going to go with 9mm belts. I've decided I do have a 48-volt power supply. So then it's, well, why don't we just do a, run the Kraken motors at 48 volts. And then if we're going to run the Kraken motors at 48 volts, why don't we just go with the Kraken board. So now we're going to go with a UHP 350 48 volt. And I'll have to grab a UHP 350 24 volt. And all the old electronics will stay in the other frame, which will go to a new home. So yeah, this is just turning into a full-on build instead of an update. But I'm going to say it's we're going to call out the enabler known as TurtleCrawler because he's the one that sent me the files for the 9mm belt upgrade and the CNC gantry. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And then when we started doing this, then he sent me the files for the lower motor mounts and the bed horns, for lack of a better term. And I'm like, okay, great. So yeah, it just keeps giving. And I was going to take the tool head off the old gantry when I moved the linear rails and just plop it over, keep everything the same, not have to worry about doing any software or any of that. And now we're just going to go the full Monty. And of course I'm making it sound like, you know, it was a hard sell for that. It wasn't. Okay, so on the other two rails, we just kind of used the motor mount as the initial alignment and worked our way up. Because in essence, they're going into one side of a 2040 with another 2020. So these are like 2060 size rails here. And I have no alignment blocks that'll work with that. But now that we're here on a standard 2020, we can go back and use our 2020 alignment blocks from standard boron stuff to get ourselves aligned. And we're still going to go from the bottom up here, so I'm just going to, once again, same pattern, we're just going to finger tight all the way up. And by finger tight, I literally mean one finger holding it up and then using fingertips to turn. And once we get this done, which aligns everything and gets stuff initially snugged up, we'll come back from the bottom and we'll do the ugga-dugga. Now that's done, I'm going to go ahead and lock down my motor mount. Again, these are M5 by 8s going into rolling T-nuts with Loctite. If it's not going through a printed part on this, it is getting Loctited because it's going to be an fully enclosed chamber, high tension 9mm belts for the XY. And yeah, it's just going to be better. That way we have less chance of anything coming loose and yeeting itself through this process. So these are some M5s. I'm going to go ahead and try and sort these out real fast. I had apparently dumped my M3s in with my M5s, thinking that I had ordered 2 bags of M5s. I did not. I ordered 2 bags of M3s. So I'm still going to need to come back and get some M5s, but I'm going to pull the M3s out. This message is highlighted. Yep. That's Free Heathen's way of giving me crud for not having a bunch more stuff set up on my channel yet. And yes, I'm still slacking off. So the Flash Forge is probably not supporting the older stuff because they've been releasing newer stuff. I know my local shop has Flash Forge 5M Pros and the 85X, which are some of their newer machines. Oh, you can ask me here. If I don't like them, then I'll tell you to switch over to the DMs, but you can ask your questions here, Heathen. I'm planning to come to Vancouver. Dude, I would love to come to Vancouver. Um, I can tell you that I've got travel plans to 3D Printopia, and I have travel plans to Form Next in Frankfurt, Germany. And the Frankfurt, Germany one is with the auto eject team. They're going to take me out there with them. But yes, I would love to come up to Vancouver and see you and work on Bubblegum Dragon again, because she's near and dear to my heart as well. I mean, anything that can make the Free Heathen and make her millwright just stop and break is awesome. And I come and co-host your show through Discord. Do not let Bexy Beans hear you say that. She will attack her. And then we will both be sad. But I could definitely come up and co-host on your show and help you get Bubblegum Dragon set up. We just need to figure out a good time, and even if that's a, say, like a joint Saturday stream, so rather than me doing a stream on Saturday, I join your stream and we stream together. That might be something. Let me know your thought on that. Sorry for sitting here and sorting T-nuts on stream, but probably a good idea that I do this now rather than later, because I will forget, and then we'll be back at this, and I will be doing this on the next stream. So we'll just do it now. It's a quick little exercise while we chat and wind down. There we go. That's done. These are our M5x8s. This stuff and this stuff will come over here with this box. Goes there, that goes there. Excuse me. Okay, so We've got all three of our linear rails installed. We've got one of our Z mounts here. We'll have to, like I said, tap the other ones, and we can get those installed once they're tapped. And then we can pull the motors and the lead screws from the other chassis. Put the den rails back in the other chassis, and we'll probably move the switches back to the other chassis as well. And we'll just treat this as a full printer build with all new parts, because we can do a what did I do? Oh, I know why. I know I have a filtered inlet, and I have another one of these switches that we can use, or what have you. I know I've got the electronics components to go there. So let's recap what we got done today. We got our XY Gantry installed. We've got our 3 motor mounts installed with all new stainless steel rails. We'll go ahead and get the other 2 motors and lead screws and trucks done. So we'll I'll probably work on tapping these off stream. Just makes sense that way. Hey, Steve Builds, how's it going? Welcome on in. So you missed the fun. We did some stuff on the ground. We did some stuff up on the bench. So, Steve, I wonder, do projects ever spiral out of control for you? Because this started off as it started off as we were going to move the existing Ender 5 Plus ZeroG Mercury build into a Nebula frame. And then I was like, well, it's black linear rails on a gray frame now. That doesn't go well. So we bought all new linear rails that just came in from KB3D. So we did a coffee and lube stream today where we lubed 6 new rails and drank some coffee and installed 6 rails on here. So at this point, we now have our Nebula frame built. We've got our Y rails and our X rails. These are all 450 millimeter. We've got the all-metal CNC gantry from TurtleCrawler. We've installed Kraken motors up here in double shear configuration for 9 millimeter belts for the X and Y, A and B. We've got the metal CNC motor mounts. So metal CNC motor mounts. I can't fit this whole thing up here, so we'll have to do like this. And SLM printed trucks for our Z-axis. Now I do have black lead screws, which I'm going to live with because these are palm coated. So the goal now is we're just going to move the motors and the lead screws over. We will install the trucks after I get them all tapped. I have to tap the other 2 metal parts. And yeah, at this point, I figure I'm going to leave all the other stuff, electronics and all, in the other chassis. It's going to find a new home with somebody. And, well, I found a a UHP 350/48. So now I need to find a UHP 350 24 volt. Yeah, no, I don't have any UHPs over there. Those are all LRSs. So I need to buy one of those, but I've now put all new chassis or frame. I've got the panels, all new linear rails, A and B motors. The only thing I'm pulling from the other ones are the Z motors and the lead screws. Because we're going to redo the electronics, because I still have a Kraken board here that hasn't been used in anything yet. Yeah, this is spiraled. This is not a tool changer wax jobs. This is a ZeroG Mercury One. And like I said, it was supposed to be literally moving from the Ender 5 frame right here to a new frame. That was the totality of this build. That was all we were going to do. And it has spiraled completely out of control. So this is the old one. It has a Orbiter 2 with a Revo hot end. I had always planned on putting the high flow heater and a high flow nozzle on here and just never did. I had the IR camera, so this is an infrared camera, so you can run it at night without having a light on it. We have a CAN bus tool head board on that. It's an EBB 36, I think. And I think on the other one, I'm going to go Kraken and Nighthawk board, Nighthawk 36 board. And I'm just going to throw the electronics back in this, and this will go to somebody new. Currently, they don't have a Mic 6 build plate, so they would use their existing Ender Z drive, which works just perfectly with that. We'll just have to remove the 3 motor mounts. I think we can just leave the linear rails in there in case down the road he does want to upgrade it with a Mic 6 build plate and go full Monty on it. But yeah, this is just kind of spiraled a bit. And I still need to do a Micron build for Zura. I've got all the parts. I just need to figure out if I need to reprint any parts or print parts that are missing. Yeah, you could try to say never with a straight face, but not going to happen. Yeah, I've watched your builds long enough. I knew the answer when I asked the question. ZeroG Mercury One, Orbiter 2, Revo, IR cam. So what it's going to be turning into is a ZeroG Mercury One in the Nebula frame, which I built a printer before. I've got another ZeroG here based on the Ender, like the standard Ender 5 Plus or Ender 5, or excuse me, Ender 5 or Ender 5 Pro size. And I built that frame as a beta. So I've got another one here in a Nebula frame already. It was just before it was called Nebula. But this one is now a brand new frame, a full metal gantry with 9mm belt mod, Kraken motors, new linear rails from KB3D with the Z1 preload, laser cut motor mounts, SLM printed yokes for the Z, SLM printed, whoops, well, I'll have to find that spacer, SLM printed trucks that will ride on the 100 millimeter linear rails, and this is what gives us our kinematic mount for the bed. And then, yeah, at that point, that's where I just said the Kraken motors can take 48 volts. They have built-in thermistors so we can monitor the temperatures. And I have a Big Tree Tech Kraken board sitting around here, so might as well. I mean, there's plenty of room in this printer. I can add plenty of electronics. Your 11-year-old saw your tool changer at Rocky Mountain Rep Rap, and now he is trying to email kit manufacturers for sponsorships to build a tool changer Voron. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I have talked with Jason at LDO, and we will be doing a tool changer or stealth changer upgrade for this Voron 2.4 right here called Fey Dragon. So this will be, I will be getting a 4-head tool changer kit or stealth changer kit with 2 Orbiter 2.5s and 2 Galileo extruders. So I will have to come up with the hot ends myself. I'm looking at 3 right now. So yeah. Yeah, not a problem, Wax Job. That's no problem. I will be going through that. Like I said, my black box tool changer and my rat rig IDEX are sitting right here off to the left. So black box 5-head tool changer and the rat rig IDEX are sitting right here. I need to do some stuff on this because I know I clogged 2 nozzles when I took it to Murph last year. Not this year, but last year I had some nozzles that I got clogged on here, so I need to do some work to get that squared away. And then this will be back up and running, and I'll be doing some prints on that, possibly for a customer. But so there's tap changer, there's stealth changer, there's a couple of different tool changers out there in the Voron ecosystem. The stealth changer, you can use stealth burners for it. You can use dragon burners. You can use rapid burners. So the dragon burner is the smaller size. The rapid burner allows you to do like a ultra high. So it's like a Rapido 2 would be a dragon burner. The rapid burner would be the ultra high flow, so more like a volcano length. Yeah, exactly. That is, so tool changers are great, but once again, you now have 4, 5, 6, however many tool heads, and you just multiplied your maintenance because you have to do maintenance on your printers, right? You just have to. It is a thing. You have to do maintenance. You're going to have more wear on components. Like right now, my left tool head, we did the IDEX, and I don't know what's going on, but the left tool head on the IDEX is printing like dog doo-doo. And I know it's something mechanically with that extruder or that whole tool head setup because I literally unloaded both filaments, swapped the sides. So I was running orange in the left, black in the right. The orange was looking like crap. I flipped the filaments. So black was in the left and orange was in the right. The black was now printing like crap on the left side, and the orange was printing pristine beautifully on the right side. So it's not a filament issue, it is literally a tool head issue. So I'm going to have to take the whole left side tool head apart and try and figure out mechanically what is going on there. There is something caught, clogged, or something in that tool head, and I have run a no clogger type thing. So, ooh, I found my spacer, so let me grab that while I can. When you find things on the ground and you lay eyes on them, you pick them up. Don't think you're going to come back for them. They will move. But I have taken one of my plunger needles here. This is a 1.75 diameter needle. And I have taken this and plunged it all the way through. And this does have an angled tip to it. I've got two with an angled tip and two that are flat. So I took this all the way down and pushed everything I could through. And I came with an acupuncture needle from the bottom up and did that back and forth several times. And I've done everything but a cold pull. And I still have issues. And this was with the hot end at like 265, 270. So there should be no way there's a partial clog in that hot end, but it's still printing like dog doo-doo. So I'm going to have to tear the whole thing apart and look at it and try and figure out what's going on with it. And unfortunately, no, I think I can get everything off without having to disassemble the belts, because that would suck, because then you got to get back into doing belt tensioning and a whole bunch of calibration that I'd prefer not to have to do. Yeah, that's the only thing I haven't done. And here's the one issue I have with an orbiter. It uses a metal tube between the extruder gears and the bottom. So what happens when you do a cold pull? I can do a cold pull, but what I have to do is take the orbiter off the printer before I heat up the hot end and do the cold pull. Specifically because when you do a cold pull, you're going to get a bulb, an enlarged piece of filament at the tip of that filament. That's the one thing I have issue with the orbiter, is that metal throat that goes from the gear down. It's a very constrained path. But if you have a bulb tip on your filament, it will get stuck and you cannot pull it out. And any attempt to pull it out, you will break the filament. And now you've got to figure out how to get that expanded tip out from underneath the bottom of your orbiter, or out of the tube, because it's solidified in the tube and now it's stuck. It's basically a heat creep issue at that point. It's the only thing I have issue with. And I love my orbiter, don't get me wrong, but that is the only issue I have with it. Right? But with that said, folks, it is now 9:30. I said an hour ago that we were only going to go a half hour. So, and my throat and stuff starting to give me problems. So, I'm going to go ahead and call this quits. Let me see who we can raid out to. Let me go look for a raid target. If anybody has any suggestions. The Jang's up and doing some Lego build. People are doing some cosplay, fabric-y looking stuff, I think. Layer by Layers up doing some stuff. Moji's up with Layer by Layer. Astro Canuck. Big Jano's back. Yeah, Jano. Hey, Evil Diesel. How's it going, dude? Have you been lurking this whole time? Yeah, right when you get on, I'm going to jump. Yep. Steve, I need to really watch some of your streams on Sunday. You still been working on the Micron rebuild, right? I'm going to have to go back and look through that as I prep for Zero's. Of course, he's got so many mods that he had set up. And what happened was he was all set to build it, and then R1 came out. And the manual is not complete for R1, so you're going to wind up doing stuff from CAD. And that's where he kind of went, you know. And so he reached out to me to see if I could take a look at that and do that build for him. So I'm going to be building that, taking apart some stuff that was already pre-built for Rev 1, or excuse me, the base model, rebuilding things into Rev 1 that need to be rebuilt, and then getting that build completed for him in time for 3D Printopia. So that's, yeah, that'll be fun. So I've got the raid started for Big Jano. Everybody, please join me as we go over and raid Big Jano. He is another 3D printing streamer here on Twitch. He also does a lot of light-based projects with WLED and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. So let's go on over with him. I think he's working on a new fan duct for one of his printers that he was working on rebuilding, or not rebuilding, but clipperizing. So did a brain replacement on it. So thank you all for being here. On Thursday when we come back, we'll continue this build and try and get it done. We'll definitely be doing the rest of the Z, getting those prepped and ready. We'll belt the gantry, and then we'll start trying to rejigger things for electronics, because that's going to be the blast. So thank you everybody for being here, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye now. And for those of you that are watching this later on YouTube, thank you so much for hanging out to the end. I hope you find these informative, and if you're getting something out of these videos, please feel free to like and subscribe below. When you do, check that bell to make sure that you're notified of future videos. And speaking about other videos, YouTube's going to be suggesting a new one right here. Thank you all.